Test, test, test.
Is it on? Is it on?
Yep.
Is it on? You sure?
Hold on. Quiet.
Is it on?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. Doesn't sound very loud.
Is it on? Is it on? Is it on? You sure?
It's like a time machine. Thank you, Matt. I learned something. I learned there's better ways to set it up. Oh.
This, look at this. It's like this is for any laptop
Yeah,
made in the last 20 years, I guess.
yeah, trust me, I know. I was really pissed when that started happening at work, because we used to have the VGA cable for 30 years. And all of a sudden we need an HDMI display port, DVI, mini display port, micro HDMI.
I don't even know what the hell that is. What is that?
This one I think is micro HDMI. This
Oh.
is USB-C,
Yeah.
regular HDMI, USB-C.
Yeah, multi-tap. Okay. This is the
HDMI.
main HDMI.
Yeah.
All right, good. I'll just say, here, Scott, figure it out.
Oh, yeah, they made everything simple here.
Freak them out. Yeah, these. I was just saying, look at all this. It's got everything you possibly need now. So.
Yeah, when we first started doing this stuff before, we just take a lot of them away. Our like, conference room looks like an octopus because you'd have all these stupid.
So simple that
Yeah.
only a child could do it.
That is exactly what we needed. We had to chain them up because people would be like, oh yeah, take it, you don't have it anymore.
All kinds of new stuff here. What's this? Oh, laser. Does this belong to the house too?
Yep. So there's all sorts of other stuff here. Remotes also.
Jeez.
Just leave them around.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're right about the lighting. There should be either light right here, or at least one of those tilted down to here.
Yeah. That's insane.
Can't get up there.
Actually, there should be a separate controllable light, because what
Yeah.
happens here is that, you know, you got light on the screen.
Yeah.
Should be able to shut all those off and just have one spotlight on the whole line.
And there should have been, maybe there was a light in here at one time. Not anymore.
Well, wouldn't,
Or just a
it would
little,
have been good, it would have been best practice to set one up, but
Yeah.
it doesn't look like there is.
because they have to move out to the light, it seems like that. Whatever.
Oh, okay, so these two are, must be hooked directly into here, so we can't, I can't use them.
Do you know about the October 8th meat dinner, Wall of Honor bullshit again? October 8th.
I don't know if I know about it directly, but I assume, yeah. Let's see.
I got the word.
Mike usually gives me a call. We gotta do, I got the ad in my computer. We'll have to update it.
October 8th is this Tuesday. Could have sworn it was,
No, that's not right. Let me look here.
it's gonna be the 5th?
Oh boy, I gotta see what I'm gonna be doing in October.
What, you think you're going to Mexico?
No, I'm going back into the hospital in September. Oh, I don't think I have that on my calendar. October. Nope. What date did you have?
Well, it can't be the 8th because it's a
Okay.
Tuesday. So the closest to that then, would
Oh,
be,
I may not be able to do it.
I know it was October, so are they talking Saturday the 5th or Saturday the 12th? And that's the holiday weekend. Hmm.
We're not good at publicizing stuff like that.
Oh, here's one for you. You get a kick out of this. I won't embarrass you by reading it
Microphone's on, by the
in
way.
front of the, in front of everyone. Read this from Dr. Forte. Is that you?
I must have put it on the wrong calendar.
But that's you.
Yeah. Well, we'll have it here. We'll have the camera.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Actually, I was talking to him, remember he brought in that,
Yeah, the bullet
the
pill.
little pill can?
Yeah.
And I really caught him by surprise. I said, I have one of those in my camera collection. Here's a, I don't think you believe me right now. I'll have to check that.
Are there hordes of people out there yet?
No, like 2 more people than were.
Everybody had the good sense to stay home today because we're gonna have tornadoes, they're gonna kill us all.
There's a shitload of pot out there.
Yeah.
I grabbed a couple of the wire wound ones, they're good to have. Here's my,
I grabbed all the ones that are double stacked for TVs and stuff.
here's my,
Well, not all of them, but a lot of them.
Oh, you actually have one?
yeah.
What is
Was
that?
that in you or just happened to have one?
No, Susan went to she took a tour of the factory one time in Israel where they invented these things.
Oh,
And they gave
that's
us.
right. Dr. Forte said that's where it came from. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do they have it line everybody up and sticking them out?
Bend over.
Is our guest speaker out there?
I didn't see him.
There's nobody out there.
I saw Bob and,
Is that off? It is off, right?
No, the microphone's on.
Paul Mondock, Ray.
Are you going to announce, did Paul, did you talk to Paul? Is he, he's good? Okay, is that for tonight?
Got to make a new position for junior video person.
Who's that?
Me.
You.
Oh, you want to be?
Yeah,
you. You want to be the senior video person, and I'll
You
be
might
the.
have to be.
You're the onlooker.
Somebody sent you a note, I think, it said, is Captain Video going to be there? And I had something to note. I said, well, if you mean me, yeah.
That's pretty funny, your colonoscopy on our fucking
Yeah,
club
I'll have to-
calendar.
Well, the people always say they got, my privacy.
Is that off?
People complain then that there's no sound. They'll be sending you messages.
and all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
All right, next meeting I have, I'll try to remember to bring it.
Okay, yeah, our next meeting's gonna be in, up in 9032A in Infowich. Is that
Oh,
okay?
yeah, I know where info is.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll be able to make it to that one, but at some meeting I'll try to get to it.
Thank you, Jonathan, thank you.
I mean, it's not doing me any good. I took to a ham fest and nobody wanted to bite, so might as well take it where it'll do some good.
Thank you, appreciate that.
In general.
I'm sorry?
The Caruso family?
Yeah.
Did you get the, if you didn't get it, you should have it. You should have it any day.
Come on in. I'm wondering if it's good for us. You wanna go down? I just wing it, I do it around until I hear something.
That's all it's talking about.
Doesn't matter. Well, okay. You can't complain.
I know the captain's.
What's that? The only one. Well, I can complain. You know the problem now.
Doesn't matter where it's, where it's coming.
Well, there's two shells. One shelf is yes, it's still. I knew you were here.
The criticism that I get at the early television. If everybody hates you, you're doing perfectly. You're averaging out to be just. That's like the two guys with the dartboard. Statisticians playing darts. One hits it off to the left of the dartboard, the other one hits it off to the right.
Huh? Thank you, thank you. Okay, I want to welcome everyone to the August 9th, 2024 meeting of the New Jersey Antique Radio Club here at beautiful Bowen Hall, Princeton University. Are there any new faces in the lecture hall? And I suspect we have a lot of new faces in the lecture hall tonight. You gentlemen, who are you? Stand up and tell us about yourselves.
My name's Alex Costanzo, KC2BDM. Just joined the club last week, and I just really like vintage radio. Yeah.
And you're also a ham.
Oh yes, yeah, for about 15 years now.
Great, great, great.
And,
What do you like to collect?
Vintage transmitters, receivers.
Boat anchors?
Basement full of random stuff. A lot of Hammerlin gear, a couple Drakes, a whole bunch of Gone sets. I really love the old VHF stuff.
Well, you've come to the right place.
Thank you. It's a really nice club.
Right.
I've been going to the Hamfest over at Wall Township there for a while,
Great.
and I figured I may as well finally join.
All right, great.
Mm-hmm.
All right, who's the guy next to you?
That's my old man.
Steve Costanzo, also a ham, KC2BDL. We got our license same time. We're from Hamilton.
And you're collecting also?
Not really. I mean, he's got such a huge collection. I just think it really is, yeah. Half of the basement's filled up with radios, which is fine with me. So.
Okay, great. Great to have you this evening then.
Thank you.
And great to have you the first time for the club meeting. Great. Okay. And how about somebody else? Yes, you, sir.
Okay, hello. My name is Bob Urich, and I am a ham, WA2BSB, licensed for a long time. And, I've been collecting radios, and I'm really into the old tube anchor, boat anchor radios. For ham radio, I've got, what is it, 3 Valiants, Johnson Valiants, 2 Johnson Rangers. I've got lots of Johnson equipment. And as far as antique radios, I inherited an old Philco AM radio from my uncle. Stands up nice, got a nice wood cabinet in the living room. So I'm into all of it. Oh, and I just joined an hour ago.
Yes, that was the amazing thing. How did you find out about us?
Rick, John, Rick.
John, also known as Rick.
Wait a minute. Don't sit down. Don't sit down. Don't sit down. We have a problem immediately about this. John Riccolo?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. All right. It's okay. It's all right.
Not supposed to know him, or?
It's all right. We'll discuss it later on. It's okay.
I think Rick is the name he goes by from the witness protection.
Is that what? Oh, it goes by Rick over at the Sarnoff Club?
Don't worry, you're only on YouTube Live.
Happy to have you. Happy to have you. All right, thank you. Anybody else? Anyone else? No, I think everybody else I know. Okay. All right, great. An hour ago. That's great. Love it. I guess that's why I didn't know your name, huh? Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the infirmary report. All right, so our webmaster, Dave Sika. Well, what can I say about him? Oh, wait a minute, he's there. Lazarus has risen. He is here this evening. It's been a while. Great to have you back, and we really do appreciate that.
November was the last meeting.
Yes, it was. It was.
Do I have to join again, or am I? I don't know if like if you don't use your email account for a while, they unsubscribe you.
No, I'm surprised you're not asking the opposite. Since you haven't been attending, should we extend your membership for the next year for 6 months?
I like that better.
You like that better? We'll think about that. Not too long, though. Okay. All right, so Dave's back, thank goodness. Okay, and thank goodness that we've had Matt filling in for him, too, as our videographer. All right, I believe that Al had told me last week that his wife, Peggy, who is a member with us, too, she had some back surgery. I don't know beyond that. Does anybody, Ray, do you know how she's doing?
Yeah, it's amazing what they do today, but they were going to do this in one day. Come in the morning, go home at night, and but they said, well, we'll keep you. So she was in the hospital for only 2 days.
Wow.
And she's doing well.
It was some sort of back surgery of
she's feeling better. I don't know any more details.
Okay, all right. All right.
He showed up at the museum on Wednesday, so.
All right, well, that's good to hear. All right, thank you. Anybody else I should know about on the infirmary report? I think on the Zoom meeting last night, Joe Devonshire up in Maine held up his left hand to prove that he's recovered. It's not in a cast anymore, and it's mobile again. So good for you, Joe. And I'm sure you're out there watching. Okay, on to old business. Well, we had our annual Hamfest tailgate show on the southeast field of InfoAge, and as usual, Signore Marconi smiled down on us, and that Saturday weather was the best that we've had in a while. It was bracketed by some nasty weather on both sides, so again, we're just really fortunate that way. We had over 30 vendors and 90 attendees. It was a little less than attendees than the previous year, but then it was more of a beach day for a lot of people, so we can only chalk it up for that. I wrote an article in our broadcaster thanking everybody, and really appreciate all the help that we had those days.
There was something else that I noticed it anyway, but besides me bringing my big behemoth station wagon, we had a 61 Studebaker Lark.
Yeah.
And Steve Calandra, although he wasn't selling, his car was parked off to the side, 58 Chevy four-door Bel Air.
Yes, yeah.
So we had 3 antique cars there, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, that was Vince Meyer. He's a club member in Vince's Studebaker. The story on that Studebaker is he bought that in high school.
He was 16.
Yeah, he bought it in high school and kept it since then. Yeah, it's amazing. I've ridden in it myself too. Okay, and so along with that, we also had 3 dozen radio bagels, and they were well gone by the end of the show. And of course, as usual, I say bring your own coffee. Ed Wilson, N2XDD, all right, the new director of the Hudson Division of the ARRL, spent time with us. He spent a few hours with us going around, meeting and greeting and handshaking, and you know, especially with our ham radio contingent that we have within the club. So that was very nice. I had met him, actually he gave me a call, and he said, you know, he'd like to come to our Hamfest, and he did. So we'll be seeing him again. Hopefully in 2025, he'll give us a presentation on what his duties are and how ARRL has changed, and for the better, hopefully. Again, like I said, there are many photos in our broadcaster this month, and also Bob Bennett, a.k.a. Radio Wild, has put out his video of what went on that day too. So please look it up. Radio technology docents, how are we doing, Ray?
We're doing okay. We'd like to have more, and we're working on a recruiting program. Harry's doing that. The attendance just keeps going up and up and up.
Yeah.
We on the last 2 Wednesdays, we've had 100 people come through.
100.
100 people.
And that's children too, or just 100 people?
Everybody.
Everybody. And you can't accomplish taking them around 100 people, so they're the people going around themselves and then touring, or you have peoples in 20 group of people.
Well, we have quite a few people come in on Wednesdays, so we can sometimes have 5 or 6 docents, you know, helping them. So, because we usually have at least 8 or 9, you know, members on Wednesdays.
All right, which means you need more docents. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, certainly anyone within a 40-mile radius of InfoAge, you know, please. We've mapped that out in the past, and there are a lot of members who are within that range. To just give a few hours, you know, a couple of hours a month even, it would be really helpful. And we, you know, most of us are retired people and have that time to do it, and it's fun. You know, anybody who has been a docent has always said how they enjoy doing it, and how they learn from other people too. And a lot of times, people that come through there have worked at Camp Evans or Fort Monmouth and can tell their own stories too. So, you know, if you can do it, give it a try. We really appreciate it. And otherwise, you know, the RTM's it's gonna be a problem if we run out of docents. Okay, so thank you if you can do it. All right, anybody else, any other old business? Any other old business you want to talk about before I go into new business? All right, new business. I have an announcement to make. As you may know, our Vice President Sal Brazindi has been suffering from Parkinson's disease for over 5 years now. He has made the decision to step aside as VP of the New Jersey Antique Radio Club. Now, off of this, Sal has been a friend of mine, our VP, a business partner of me, and we came into the club together. It's probably 25 years ago. And, you know, with this disability that came on him, it's, You know, it's really sad. It's really a sad situation. But he is an adult enough to realize that he can do just so much. We've seen him here, and it's a bit sad for what we do see and what he has to go through. And then he came up with the realization that he just really can't be VP anymore. And so he said, Rich, you know, I'm going to step aside, and please, you know, pick somebody, do whatever you have to do. And so I gave him a call this week, and I told him, and I said it would happen. So let me go through this again. All right, so I asked the E-Board, and we had a meeting, and so that the rest of his 2-year position with the NJRC member in good standing, as per our club constitution, I proposed the executive board and agreed to ask Paul Mondock, okay, to fill in as the vice president position for the next 22 months, whereupon Paul would stand for election as New Jersey Antique Radio Club's vice president in 2026. Paul, come on up, please. Now, if you don't know Paul, I know Paul, and I know him very well. And Paul's a good guy, he's a smart guy, and he's a very capable guy, okay?
Good evening, folks.
So Paul's going to tell you a little bit about himself, okay? We only have an hour and a half, okay?
Sure. A lot of you folks know me. Sorry. That's all right. A lot of you folks know me. Some of you folks don't know me. I've been with the Antique Radio Club for several years. I have a background in other clubs, mainly in the shooting sports, Somerset County Fish and Game. I served as their president for 10 years. Did a major reconstruction project, the whole bit. So I'm used to the club environment, and you guys are a lot of fun. The difference is you guys don't have guns, they did. And I'm still here, they didn't shoot me. KC2 VDL, AA2 PM. All right. There are some other folks here who know me from I'm a ham operator, obviously, AA2 PM. Hobby-wise, the shooting sports, radios, hi-fi, motorcycles, hot rods. So it's kind of a fit with most of you guys. Most of the radio work I do is on 50s and 60s sets, although I do get a good kick out of working on the early ones. Not crazy about the transistor stuff yet, but Al did tease me about that and told me to think of them as triodes, and I would do fine. So I have since done about a dozen pocket radios. They're kind of fun, but I'll take a tube radio any day. That's really the story behind me. I had some college and math major, self-employed.
Your working life?
My working life, I'm in IT, self-employed.
He's actually working.
And yes, for those of you who are retired, I am one of the guys forking out for your Social Security. Hopefully there'll be a little heft when I get there. I have no desire to retire. I just even with all my hobbies, I just can't picture myself sitting home. That'll kill me. That's really all it is. My phone number and all will be in the paper, and don't feel shy to email me or call me on the phone, whatever you want to do if you have a question that I can answer for you. And thank you very much to Sal for all the years that he put into the club.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you. Now, I've already, I've given Paul this packet of, not his duties yet, but certainly his benefit packet and 401k, full dental, full optical. Pension, and he gets to use my Yugo, okay, but it has to be for club.
Hey, wait a minute, those Yugos are good on gas, they don't go anywhere.
I was wondering how they got the fuel economy out of those.
He has to pay for his own gas.
Least you could do is get him a gas card for a '73 Corvette. Yeah.
It's a nice transition, a nice, easy transition.
Glad to do it.
We'll talk, we'll talk. All right. I have this, an asterisk here. Ask Darren about the club pickup in Springfield. Darren, tell us about the club pickup in Springfield. Come on up.
Just down the road.
I was contacted about 3 weeks ago, as it happens. And as it happens, it rains and pours at the same time.
That's good, rain is good. There's no way for me to cast a picture from this to So, for those
They
who
might want
are
this back.
interested in how this works, I've been working on a pickup of stuff that benefits the club in Springfield, New Jersey. If anybody's familiar with that area, there's Meisel Avenue. It runs between Route 22 and Morris Avenue. It's a 2-lane in each direction, fairly main road, a little curvy. It has a wide shoulder on one side where you can park on the inside of a white line. You can park a big truck or trailer, so there's no problem there. And it has vehicles that drive down the road really fast, even though I think it's a 35-mile-an-hour road. So we were loading, pretty much done loading the trailer, and John Tominski was there with Pete's old hearse that he now has. And he was just finishing loading the hearse with radios. Dead radios, but loading the hearse with radios. That's the stipulation. It can't be working. So all is done. And all of a sudden, I'm standing on the lawn picking up a few last pieces, and I hear a sound, a loud ba-boom, like 2 loud consecutive explosions, which were the sound of the tandem axles on my trailer, the tires blowing out, because a very nice older lady in a Mazda Tribute, which is Mazda's labeled version of a Ford Escape, apparently looked, her grandchildren are in the back seat fighting, and she turned her head, and obviously thereby her body, to deal with the kids. And of course, when your head goes, your arm goes, and your vehicle goes, and she went over the white line and sideswiped, but hitting the tires of the trailer, hard enough to deploy all the airbags in her Mazda. Brake, I think she broke the lower control arm or the spindle thereof, and blowing up both of the tires on my trailer and bending the rear tandem axle, the drop axle, bending it so that the wheel sat about probably 18 to 20 degrees off axis. So the fortunate thing that I know of a trailer dealer about 8 miles from there on Route 22, who I used to deal with years ago for parts and stuff. And the problem was I had 2 flat tires. Now I had 1 spare, but what I didn't have was a second spare. So fortunately, we were able to take a maul and bend the rim back enough to hold air, because those old steel rims you can actually straighten. I've done that before, and filled it up with one of those portable air compressors, which if you don't have, I highly recommend. They're really good. They run on a cordless drill battery, and change the tire. And the best thing is I'm very thankful that it was a nice, miserable, rainy day. Because when you're driving a tandem axle trailer with 1 wheel off axis, that wheel is turning, but it's also dragging on the ground. And instead of just making a lot of smoke at 10 miles an hour, it made a lot of steam. And the water made the ground nice and slippery, so the tire was able to sort of drag along okay. And I was able to drag the trailer to the trailer dealer, Camp Out Trailers on Route 22, where it now sits. And we're estimating, I'm waiting for the final estimate, probably with the tires going to be somewhere just above $2,000 worth of damage. So, and the fender, I can't forget the fender that's got to be replaced. But yeah, so just know that in addition to the high voltages and hot tubes and other things, radio collecting and hauling is a hazardous occupation. Do so at your own risk.
How are the radios?
Well, this is the, you know, along with being blessed with the rain, we're also really blessed that she didn't go another couple of inches over, because the trailer has a ramp gate. And if she had gone a couple of inches over, she would have rode up the trailer ramp, crashed into the side wall of the trailer, and she would have sent radios flying everywhere. And the nearest radio that would have taken flight and probably gone through her windshield was a Radiola 18. Now, if you've ever...
Without the hood?
No, with the hood.
Oh, with the hood.
With the hood. So if you've ever handled a Radiola 18, I really don't think that's something you want flying through your windshield at speed. So everybody was lucky that all she did was bounce off the tires. So, and we're lucky too that she didn't push the trailer. Yeah.
I hope that she had insurance that covered this accident, since she was clearly the one at fault.
Well, she has insurance.
The police report.
I'm waiting for, I have to drive up to Springfield Township Monday to collect the police report, because otherwise I have to wait another week until they get it uploaded into the computer, because they can't give me her insurance information over the phone. I don't. But I have to go up there anyway to drop off new tires, because the tires I run on the trailer are Hercules, they're Cooper tires, and they have to come from the tire distributor by me, because the trailer place, they only have the run-of-the-mill Chinese trailer tires, so I want to match my tire, and I got to take it up to them anyway. But yeah, her insurance, ultimately, yes, her insurance will cover it. It's a trailer, it's not a vehicle, so it's treated as if she lost control and took out somebody's mailbox. It's property damage, basically, so it is fully covered, and she has insurance, and I should have asked her for her carrier. She would have told me, but she's very kind. Her children weren't hurt, which was good. We gave them cold water to drink, and everybody was okay, so that's the important thing. But it was a bit of an adventure. Radio collecting and hauling it can be a very dangerous occupation, and you know, don't try this at home. We're trained professionals, and you know, yeah. So it was fun.
All right.
So was
Thank
the
you,
stuff
Darren.
for auction?
What's that?
What was the stuff? Is it for your auction or?
Well, it's stuff that's going to go benefit the club. Yeah.
No, that's, Mr. Campbell called me, like I said, 3 weeks ago, and we arranged the pickup.
Yeah.
And JD Auction Services at our service, and thanks to Darren and John.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of good stuff coming.
And there was a lot of good stuff, so I had heard that and taken pictures of it, and so, like he says, it's all part of the biz. JD Auction Services at your service. Okay. So I figured I'd have him share that with you guys. All right. Okay. On Saturday, August 24th, we will have our summer repair clinic in Building 9032A and InfoAge. At intermission, if you would like to be a client, let me know, and I will write your name in. Make sure you see me write it in so that I know you'll be coming. And of course, we'll have complimentary radio bagels and radio pizza that day too. That is our summer repair clinic. Okay. On a personal note, I'd like to share this with you folks, because one reason is because we're mostly old people. Matt, you don't have to listen to this, but most of us are. And you, young Mr. Constantini. Dermatologists. How many people have gone to a dermatologist? Even at young people. Oh, great. So that's even better, okay? Because I am guilty of not going until my 72nd year, okay? And I decided it was time. And I guess it was beyond time, because full body scan, and next thing I know, I've got five spots of basal cell and one melanoma. And it's being taken care of. One of them is here, okay, you can see that, that's lovely. And excuse, Judith, don't look, okay, thank you. And another one is right here, okay.
Sexy.
Yeah, and it's just something that you got to do, you know. I'm thinking, oh, yeah. And one of these things where, you know, the dermatologist says, you ask the question, well, how did that happen? But, you know, I've been bald most of my life. I wear a hat all the time. I'm not a person that runs around on the beach getting tanned or anything like that. I always have a shirt on. Excuse me. And he said, yeah, but what did you do? What did you do when you're 8 years old, Rich? You know, what did any of us do when we were 8 years old? We ran around on the beach. Mom's at the beach. Everybody's getting a tan. It's a wonderful thing to get a tan. And, you know, in essence, the dermatologist says there's no such thing as a good tan, you know, even from way, way back. So I'm glad to see all the hands go up. So that's great, because I expected just to see a few hands go up. So it's just something we all have to do, and it's important.
Is it visible or something that is not visible?
No, not visible. Not visible, not at all. It's, I mean, like I have things on my arm here.
How do they find it?
Goes around with a scope, keeps looking. I mean, you're butt naked and he goes over everything. And I mean, here, I've got one here, top of my head. But, you know, here's my arms and my legs, which usually get the sun the most. Nothing. So go figure. One of his stories is that, well, he says, well, you know, Bob Marley died from melanoma. Okay, all right. And then he tells me that he had a 30-year-old woman, African-American woman, that had a melanoma on the bottom of her foot. So go figure that.
I recently spoke to someone that had that.
You know, so who knows? I don't know. All I know is it's best that we do it. So I'm glad that I'm not telling anybody anything new. So that's great. Okay. Any other new business anybody wants to discuss before we go into our Ham Shack corner? All right. All right, so there's lots of ham events going on. The month of September coming up, too. All right, in Ewing, the My Airy VHF, all right, Delaware Valley Conference. Did we set up there one time at a conference center? They're calling it the Trenton Convention. It started today and runs through Sunday. Did we do something like that years ago that we set up? Tom, do you remember anything like that?
You're asking a memory question.
Well, we were a collective memory. You know, it's like maybe somebody knows this over here and somebody there and there. Whatever. Okay, anyway. That's this weekend, okay? All right, I see the GSAR, Garden State Amateur Radio Club, is having their Hamfest in Tinton Falls, and that's September 28th on Saturday. OMARC, Ocean Monmouth Amateur Radio Club, is having their Hamfest in Spring Lake, and that's Saturday the 7th. And I think that's the Firehouse in Spring Lake. The Southern New Jersey Convention Hamfest at Mullica Hill. That's an old one, right? John, you've been there, right?
That's a good one.
That's a good one, right? It's got a lot of history for that. And that's Mullica Hill, New Jersey, on Sunday, September 8th, all right, 2024. And
That's where I got my license.
yeah. And of course, the one that is very dear to the heart of Judith and Fred is the Fair Lawn. ARC is having their Hamfest, and that's also on September 7th. And that's, you know, it steps on OMARC, but I'm sure everybody wants to go to the Fair Lawn. All right? And of course, our own Fall Hamfest show will be at Parsonage PAL, and that will be November 16th, and that will be on a Saturday. Okay. All right. Now, if you listen up, after a brief intermission and sale of our 50/50 tickets, this coupon, which is actually two coupons, all right, it's a $50 ARL coupon that was given out. That was a raffle ticket for our Hamfest, all right, if you were at our Hamfest 2 weeks ago. Ed Coleman, club member, said, Rich, I have no use for it. Please give it away. And I said, at that moment in time, he wanted me to auction it off, I'm sorry, raffle it off, and it was at the end of the raffle, and I didn't want to get involved with it. So I said, I'll do it tonight. So here's a $50 merchandise certificate coupon for AWA merch, all right? And actually, I was at the Njarc last fall, and I won this coupon. And I happened to have a very nice, like a little rain jacket, ARRL, blue, very nice. So there's a lot of nice stuff. So you just go to the ARRL website, and you can see all the merchandise that gets you $50. And a lot of books and pertaining to ham radio, too.
Why does it say 25?
Because you're so observant. But you didn't observe that. There's two of them, okay? So that will be part of the 50/50 tickets who are going to be sold right now, and I'm sure that Darren will help do it, and I'm sure our vice president will help do it, okay? So quick intermission, all right, guys? 50/50, see Darren and see Paul. These are hermetically sealed because everybody complains that they're always damp. Okay.
What's the price on these again?
3 for 2. 3 for 2, guys. 3 for 2, guys. 3 for 2. Step right up.
A tisket, a tasket, we got a new basket.
You know it. Goodwill. I paid $1 for that.
Thank you. As long as the numbers on both.
I want to know, Paul, have you been to the border?
What border?
And you know what I'm talking about. You're the VP, right?
Now, wait a minute, don't insult our vice president.
I told them not to come.
You just insulted our vice president. That's not nice.
He has a different laugh than that guy.
He actually has a brain in his head.
Where's Fifi? No Fifi time?
No, not today. He wasn't interested in this one.
Oh, okay.
So have they resurfaced the road or something?
Jonathan, is it just me or is it freezing in here?
It is a little cool.
Yeah.
Consider the heat you enjoyed during the day, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop at the can, I'll be right back.
Okay. That's not wood.
Not only that, it's not broadcast band.
Yeah, it is.
Well, not broadcast radio. Let me rephrase that.
Oh, yeah. No, this is one I had for sale at my table, the Hamfest 2 weeks ago, and nobody bought it. Nobody.
I bought one at the auction, not this one. I don't even think it's national. I forget who it is.
That's why.
I have 2 bar stools that are about the AI. And can you use them at when you're doing like the repair clinic? Because either that or I'm going to donate them to a church because I have no space for them.
No, that wouldn't be for us. We got plenty of chairs there.
Oh, yeah.
Plenty, yeah. Thank you, though. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Just thought I'd ask.
Please, always ask, because you never know what we need, yeah. Jerry needs this, I don't know.
Looking at this and thinking, oh, they forgot to put in a speaker. And then I turned it on. I think that's a speaker.
Those look like the things you put on like a junction box to cover up knockout.
One other thing.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Here's a donation for the club.
Why? Why all that money?
Because I want to do it. It's just between you and me. You don't have to say.
Come on, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Why? Why? You paid enough for your fucking truck, right? Please, please, that's very nice of you. You don't have to do that, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay.
Please, thank you, thank you. You've done plenty for us, plenty. And you're always bringing stuff. You're always bringing stuff too, right? I'm sure there's more to come.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No,
Well, thank you for all your time, too.
No, that's it. That's all right. Electric is my life, you know?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of it all the time, too.
Mm-hmm. I'm just, it's sad about your truck, though. That's bugging me, that you pay all that money and everything screws up on it.
Well, one more thing went on it. The fuse block.
Yeah, you're
in
talking
the
about
engine.
that last night, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So between, that one, the other thing, part of it, the sensor, the purge sensor, $1,200. But I'll tell you, the truck runs so much better. It's like a brand new vehicle. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But my biggest thing is clocks.
I know.
Show you something real quick. That's electric, believe it or not, runs off a battery. It's got 2 coils in there. This one has 1 coil. The one on the other side has 2 coils.
You know, we got to remember Lou Lombardi. Too bad he never comes anymore. But he was into clocks, too.
And that's
You got the clock that runs by air? He says it runs by...
Atmos. Yeah, Paul over at Wayne Electronics has one on his desk. But this runs electronically. It has a little sensor in there.
Oh, yeah.
And the pendulum is a magnet. And when it comes to the right spot, it gives a little kick.
That's what,
And it's almost like a watch mechanism. And I did a backlight for that one. And then this is the other one I got. That has 2. This one senses where the pendulum is, and the other one gives it the kick. Made in Germany. And all the manuals are written in German.
Oh.
So, and right now I'm working on the German clock, which is amazing. I've spent 40 hours on it. The engineering is absolutely amazing.
He showed us a picture of that, and it didn't even look like a clock.
I've had this
You'd
thing.
call that a mantle clock, right?
Yeah, I've
Be
had
on the
this part
fireplace.
about.
It's pretty big, right?
Well,
Yeah.
the works are only like that.
Yeah, but I mean, the footprint is big.
Yeah, the footprint is big.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you something, I never saw one before, and there's no instructions, and it's not built like anything else.
No.
And I've learned so much from it. It just keeps the mind going, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So,
All right,
Any
let's
rate-
get this going again. Okay.
yeah.
I'm waiting for your,
Remember Blonde Tongue?
There he is, how you doing?
I'll never forget that.
Good, they were great people. Yeah.
I'm waiting for your show to start. Those stale tomatoes are eating a hole in my
That's
my
not
shirt
funny.
pocket.
That's not funny. How many people threw a tomato at you? Don't
Nobody.
be throwing tomatoes at him.
I had the female kind of tomatoes thrown at me. That was a long time
I
ago.
don't know about
It's
that.
interesting what you said about that,
About what?
about going to a dermatologist,
Oh,
getting
yeah.
checked. Because you probably may not know this. In my profession, a lot of us pilots and
Yeah,
flight attendants
that's
get,
right.
you know why?
Because
At higher altitude, you get more UV light.
Yeah.
and
At
the
5,000 feet.
screen doesn't. Yeah, go ahead.
There is no way to protect you from that.
Right.
The only thing would be liquid, like water, and the plane would be too heavy to get off the ground. So you go up 5,000 feet, a mile up, and you're getting twice as much sun rays
Really?
as, yeah.
And is it UV? The glass? Is it UV? No, I didn't think so.
The windshield up front is about yay thick. It's designed to take a chicken,
Yeah.
or in my case, I took a.
Most glass will block UV.
And even though it has the little heating wires in it, which is 24 karat gold, it does not. I mean, you used to see when I flew as a captain, this arm was like
What was it? These were
10.
airliners,
This-
right?
Yes. And this arm was white, so everybody looked at me like, well, I put my arm out the window.
I guess you have to wear a long sleeve shirt.
But, you know, when you're up at 30, 40,000 feet,
Oh, at 30, 40,000,
you're getting bombarded.
Yeah, oh, when you get up
Rays.
to like that, so I think you have to just take what the
I didn't
pressure,
realize that,
what the
yeah.
pressure is, that's the total amount of air above you.
I found one, but it looks like it got hit.
First thing you do, shine a light on
Because the harmonics on a tune are different than harmonics.
50-50, folks. 50-50.
You breaking the kid in?
The ones that have two shafts are great
And Rich, I owe you, what do I owe you for the passwords?
I'm sorry, I didn't bring him
Anybody else, 50-50?
Last call, 50-50. Last call.
Catch the date of that repair clinic?
August 24th.
Oh, okay, that's a Saturday, the 24th, okay, okay. And it's at the Info Age, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay,
If
thank you.
you want a spot,
Yeah,
send me an email.
oh, okay.
I'll just give you my card. It's easier that way.
Yeah, it's on, yeah, that'd be good. Oh, great. Perfect.
All right, that's it.
Okay, got it. So it's your email, president,
Well,
yeah.
it'll get sent.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Rich, is the talk immediately after the 50/50? Can I put up the title screen now? Is all that?
Where in the back of that big old station you were getting whacked upside the head. And he never took his eyes off
Well,
the road.
that was the problem. She took her eyes off. The problem is those kids probably never got whacked.
That hand would come back there and it was going to get you. To this day, I don't know how he did it.
Well, I will say she was very kind, she was contrite about that. She liked the dining.
Yeah, it's working. Right about the time where taking the stitches out, he said, put a bandage on it, put Vaseline on it, and after about 5-6 days, you can take that off. So I went to 5 or 6 days, promptly banged my head on the tire, right on it. You know, and it stopped, kind of thinking, spotting the bandage. So, I hope I didn't rip something off. So I put the bandage back on for another week. What's the chances?
This thing, it's pretty damn complicated. really looked like a knife.
Football stitch.
Yeah, I got the stitches out Wednesday. I had this special salve. I had to go over the camera and, this, okay, which is a hell of a lot bigger. He says, let's take some Vaseline. I said, really? I put aqua it's like healing. That was like the day out. I heal very quickly. My family's very good. And this, at close, I got free face
This is just the beginning. I've been going over here for 15 years.
And they find something every year?
A little something, a little suspicious. This is the first time they found something.
That's what I mean.
The thing is, you can have melanoma, you can have these cancers in the side.
I got this if you have a line hole.
West of
That's what he did a good, this guy did a better stitch. I got more range. He did good stuff.
That's a lot of stitches. How deep did he have to go? You can just tell me.
I'm going to show you. Ready?
There's not that much there.
Just figure if I have my eyes closed. It would look like I'm on the autopsy table.
That's pretty serious.
So that was a close up, and that's why I was drunk. And I still don't know that much.
Well, I told you, I think the last time I was at a meeting, after the Novocaine wore off, I felt like my scalp was too small for me. It didn't take that much. I think it was, I don't know, 3 or 4 stitches inside and maybe 2 or 3 on the outside.
You can see this.
So they were doing
more time. Went to the mows. I sat there from 11 o'clock, so 11 a.m.
So that's significant enough that you must have had post-op discomfort.
I mean, I still have it now.
Was it chew okay?
Again, I feel it. But yeah, the more you use it, the better. It's the, when I put the salve on it, I don't feel it.
Well, it does make you realize sooner would have been easier.
But then when he said, it's when you're a little kid, you're half naked.
See how?
John was talking about as an airline pilot, 5,000 feet. To the
The opposite. You need to do like with the welding rods, store them in a controlled oven. You ever see those dry rod ends? You probably wired them in, but yeah.
Put them in an oven. All right, come on, get back to work.
That's just too. And there's plenty more left. That's where that fell. I was wondering.
still on? Are we on? Okay, folks, before I forget, I want to thank everybody for coming this evening. I mean, I know the scare of all the hurricane and the twisters and all the terrible things that were going to happen to us and all, but of course that was more way out west to us. You know, thanks for coming. I know a lot of you did go through the storms, but I don't think it was as severe as they all predicted it would be. So thank you for that. Okay, so we have $24, okay? We have a cash prize of $24 along with the $50 for ARRL merch, okay? So we need a volunteer to pick. And I think I'm going to pick the man that joined the club an hour ago. Or what is it, an hour, 2 hours ago now, all right?
Oh boy, I hope I don't win now. That'll be embarrassing.
We've had that before, you know.
Okay, well, then you know it's pure luck. I'm not looking, everybody. Okay, this is somebody's ticket.
Okay, now this is for the merch first, okay, the merch. The merch, the coupon merch. Okay, so keep your ticket, all right? Don't throw it away. All right, for the merch, the coupon for ARRL, 4131 566 566 566. That's an O as in I got it?
It was 566?
566. Then you won, okay.
The fix is in.
The fix is it. So you can get yourself a nice T-shirt, all right?
Thank you.
Okay?
Yeah.
No,
No, that doesn't go.
No.
That's right. I keep that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the $24, okay, we will have father and son, or whoever wants to put their hand in first.
You can do the honor.
Okay. For the $25 cash raffle prize, 4131 635 635 635. Here. Here. Lady Luck. Lady Luck. It is.
Okay.
Thank you.
very much.
See?
Thank you.
Lady Luck. All right, thank you. Okay, so this evening we have our presentation by our very own Scott Marshall, all right? Now, you may know Scott Marshall, or you may not know Scott Marshall, but I know him as the guy who restored a CT100, RCA CT100, which was the first color television produced commercially by RCA. And the story goes that Scott really didn't know how to do it, but he learned how to do it. And I think that's absolutely amazing. So Scott, come on up here and start. As a matter of fact, a little bio of you would be very helpful.
It's coming up. Microphone.
Okay.
Okay. Everybody can hear me all right?
Not when you're walking away.
Is it all right if I stand here? Okay, I'll try to talk loud. All right, next slide, please. This is my resume, I've been 65 years as an electronic hobbyist since grade school. That's me at 13 years of age in electronics class.
Looks like the beef.
Thank you. I was an audiovisual tech for the Princeton Regional Schools from 75 to 78. 79, I was a bench tech at Panasonic Factory Service. That's in Secaucus, New Jersey. Literally, if you sent in a VCR to factory service, it would appear on my bench in Secaucus, New Jersey. Never mind the factories in Japan. From 1980 to 89, I was a senior technical associate at RCA Sarnoff Labs in Princeton. In 2000-2001, I worked on sound for cinema systems, for the digital cinema systems, on a contract for Technicolor. And from 2000 to 2024, I've been a member of the New Jersey Antique Radio Club. All right. Next, problems with old radios. They can look bad. They're falling apart, missing parts, animal nests inside. I've seen all of these. Animal excretions, no sound, poor reception, dial doesn't track, or it doesn't sound good. And this is the subject of this presentation. I'm not going to deal with the other stuff. Types of problems with sound quality. You will see sibilance. I'll define it. Sibilance is when like an S or T sound is extra loud. It's when somebody says yes over the radio, it goes yes, like that. Harmonic distortion, we're going to talk a lot about that. Intermodulation distortion, that's when typically a bass sound and a treble sound are playing at the same time. The treble sound is warbling in response to the bass sound. Frequency response, you got too much or too little treble or bass or mid-range or whatever. You get noise. I'm going to talk about all these things. And poor dispersion, that has to do typically with radios that have more than one speaker driver in them, 2 speakers or a speaker and a regular mid-range and a tweeter, things like that. Okay, am I going too fast? Good. A word about high fidelity. If high fidelity means reproduced sound matches the original sound, it does not mean it sounds good. And I'll tell you a story about the I call the ghost piano player. When I was about 13, we have a piano in the living room, and I heard somebody playing the piano. And I went, wow, that's a real professional piano player. And he was playing Chopin. And I got out of my room, I walked into the living room, and I looked at the piano, and there was nobody playing the piano. It sounded just like somebody was playing the piano in the living room. And I turned in the other end of the room, there's our hi-fi system. And they were playing the Van Cliburn record that's pretty famous. And I just couldn't believe that, you know, I mean, a hi-fi should sound like the thing that it's playing. It shouldn't sound good or better than, you know, it should sound accurate to what was being recorded. And in the case of a radio, if it's really hi-fi, it'll sound like the announcer or the singer has their head where the speaker is. Hi-fi should have no added noise. Exceptions has to do with the way recordings are made, especially pop music. They don't make pop music sound like the original instruments or anything. It's completely concocted. It's completely created in the studio. It's not going to sound original. It ought to sound the way the monitors sounded when they made the recording. Accurate? No, but accurate to that. And I understand that in the 50s and 60s, when they were making pop records, they actually monitored their mix with a car radio loudspeaker so that they could tune the sound so that it would sound as good as it could for kids driving around in their cars.
What the technical term is for that?
Is there? What?
Shitboxing.
Very good. Shitboxing, I hear, is a technical term for the. You know, I didn't know that. Thank you. Transparency is the goal. A high fidelity system shouldn't have any tone or character to its sound. It should sound like whatever was recorded.
Is that the same as the first line?
What? Yeah, yeah. I'm being redundant. All right. In the chain of reproduction of sound, there can be issues with the broadcaster. Sometimes the broadcaster is actually having an issue with their sound quality. There can be multipath distortion. The radio is reflecting off of buildings or something. It could end up in your radio distorted. You can have problems with your IF, intermediate frequency amplification stages, the demodulation stage. That happens to be a very interesting problem, demodulation. There can be problems with your receiver amplifier stages, loudspeaker issues, cabinet issues, and listener issues. Listener issues is interesting because I have a little problem with wax in my ears. And there was I had an experience where I was going to buy a digital keyboard. I went to a music store and put on headphones to listen to it, and I was playing it. And I went, and I said, you know, your right channel is distorted. and then I had the thought to turn the headphones around, and the distortion stayed on this side. So, hearing is not perfect. Weakest link has the greatest effect on sound quality. You know, link, there's all these stages. Demodulation stage, IF. These should be asterisked. It's a brand new PowerPoint. Now, if you have several stages, each one of them has an acceptable level of harmonic distortion. They could add up or multiply, and then you'd get an unacceptable level after several stages of small distortion are in the chain. Okay. Okay, the radio owner is able to address everything from there to there, essentially. All right, next. It's important to make test signals because even though a radio might sound off with voice or music, you can't really be sure what's going on unless you have a test signal. Because the problem with voice and music, regular radio broadcasts, is it's very random. The volume is going up and down. It's stopping and starting. It could be overmodulated momentarily and not in the next moment. So it's not feasible to diagnose a system with actual reception or with actual music and voice. You need to use test signals most of the time. And this is here. This is the test signals I usually use come from my cell phone. I have a function generator on my cell phone. It's called it comes up later what it is exactly. I made an AM modulator because I didn't like any of the modulators that are on the market. This is a little AM transmitter, and it receives the cell phone signal by Bluetooth. You can also plug into it. This is a radio that is the one I brought today to show you. Now, you can get these little AM transmitters that are kits and things. You can get the Talking House, and all of those. I have issues with the quality, and if you're going to work on the sound quality of your radio, you need the highest quality source of test signals that you can possibly get. And this little thing here is marketed, if you're going to work on FM, this is marketed for playing your cell phone into the FM radio in your car. And the quality is spectacular. So when I work on FM, I use this little guy.
What is it, a little FM transmitter or a Bluetooth?
Yeah, it is. It's an FM transmitter. You plug it into the headphone jack on your cell phone, and it transmits an FM signal to various frequencies for your FM radio. And the quality is spectacular. It runs on 2 little AAA batteries.
And it costs only $10.
Yeah, how about that? $10. And there are lots of different models of this too. This is just the one I happen to use. Okay. Harmonic distortion is the biggest problem. Causes of harmonic distortion. B plus power supply voltage is incorrect. A misalignment of tuned circuits, nonlinearity in the RF, IF, or AF stages because of a bad tube resistor capacitor. Missing or improper negative feedback. Does everybody know what negative feedback is? Is that vacuum tubes are, by their very nature, nonlinear. And they were causing distortion through history, even when they were first used for telephone amplification in the 1920s, I believe. And then somebody, I don't remember his name, that's another talk, invented the idea of taking the output of amplifier stage and putting it back to the input so you could compare them and correct the nonlinearities. So if you have a problem in your radio with the negative feedback circuit, which I have had a couple times, that'll cause a problem with sound fidelity. So that's something to check. You can have a malfunction of the automatic gain control circuit. You can have an overdriven stage. That's kind of pretty typical if one stage is got too much signal. We'll talk more about that. You've got an imbalance. A lot of radios have a push-pull stage where two tubes will push and pull on the loudspeaker. And if they're out of balance, you can get harmonic distortion there. You can get speaker driver mechanical problems. That's a mechanical problem with the loudspeaker itself. Mounting of the speaker on the cabinet can give you problems. You can get vibrations in the cabinet if there are any loose parts in there. Or there could be a vibrating object in the room. A quick story about that. Somebody came to me and said, my stereo doesn't sound good. Can you come check it out? And so I went to her house and I was listening. She was playing. I was walking around. And I ended up at a little glass menagerie of blown glass animals on a glass shelf. And one of them, it was a four-legged thing. It was vibrating on the shelf. And she thought there was something wrong with their stereo. Okay, frequency response issues can be caused by misalignment of the tuned circuits, capacitor issues, because all the sound is going through capacitors in a radio. If, say, the value is too low, that'll take away some of the bass in other parts of the circuit. The capacitors or the resistors associated with the capacitors and RC circuits can cause treble or bass to be magnified or suppressed. So, and then you have the speaker driver issue, frequency response, speaker driver issues. Yeah, speakers can have problems. Output transformers can have problems. You can have negative feedback. I have a radio where the negative feedback is actually used to compensate for a low value of capacitance in the cathode coupling, cathode bypass of the output section. Very interesting way to use negative feedback aside from suppressing distortion. And in FM radios, you have a de-emphasis circuit, and that can malfunction, especially if the resistor is off in that circuit. Everybody know what de-emphasis is in FM? Explain it. Yeah, in modern FM home radio, they boost the treble a little bit at the transmitter site because the noise you're likely to get is most likely in the treble. Then in your receiver, they suppress the treble to exactly match that, and in the process, they suppress the noise that's in that frequency range. Make sense?
I got a question.
Yes.
I understand the concept of the de-emphasis, but I don't understand they measure it in. Thank you.
It's 7 to 2 in the United States.
It's the time constant of a capacitor resistor.
52 in Europe.
It's not a measurement, it's a specification.
Yeah, that's the RC time constant that comes out from that. Right. Diagnosing sound quality issues. In a typical radio, it has many stages. If it sounds bad, then you could use a signal tracer or a scope or an injector. You could go stage by stage to find out where things are going off. Real music and voice programs are not ideal because they're random and they keep changing. You need test signals to do this. An audio signal generator is ideal. Sine wave is the most often used, but there's square and triangle waves. And square and sawtooth are the most useful. I don't use the triangle very much. You can chart the frequency response with the dB scale on a VTVM. I'm going to go into that with more detail. And you can chart a frequency response with a sound pressure level if you want to check the actual output of the sound coming out of the speaker. And then there are audio sweep generators. I don't use them, but I hear that they're very useful for checking and diagnosing the frequency response in radios. Yeah, and as I already said, for the little AM transmitters, the low power, they are known to have distortion and frequency response issues. So it's important to get a quality device for that. Did I hear something? The question? Okay. I happen to use, for most of my audio work, I use one of these old HP 200 series audio generators. They're very, very reliable, constant, and well calibrated. But I also use something on my cell phone. It's called the Simple Tone Generator, and it's very versatile. It's for the sine wave, the distortion, the harmonic distortion is actually better than for the HP analog vacuum tube device, oddly enough. But I measured them. Okay, I can plot the frequency response with. If I want to plot it from the loudspeaker, I use a sound pressure level meters. And the common ones that you get are not really designed for critical analysis. They're more designed for checking to see if people's ears are going to be damaged in a particular work environment. That's what they're designed for. But if you know that, you know that they're not going to give you a frequency range of in the extremes, then they can still be very useful. And with my VTVM, it has this dB scale here, and that is what I've been using to plot the frequency response of the circuits, the electronics inside my radios. I created this chart here, where I can plot the strength of the signals at each frequency. This is with the KLH21. It's a 1960s transistor FM receiver. And I found out that it did this interesting thing around 100 hertz. It had this bulge there. I believe that's to compensate for the frequency response of the loudspeaker itself. Because electronically, that's what I see. Presumably, in terms of sound pressure, it's pretty straight. But wonderfully, from 1 kilohertz all the way up to almost 15 kilohertz, it's quite flat. And I've been doing this on various radios and things in my collection. Audio, with ordinary audio, with music or speech, you look at it, and much of the time you can't see what, if anything, is wrong there. It's just jaggy lines. How do you? Although sometimes, if it's if the gain is too high, if it's clipping the signal, you can see that the peaks are being lopped off like that. So it has some use. Anyway, with the test signal, here's a normal sine wave, and when you work with stuff with sine waves, you get really familiar with this exact curve, and eventually you'll learn that this isn't shaped quite right. When the sine wave is clipped, it starts to look like that. You get the flat tops and bottoms. If you have a bias error in one of your stages, then it's going to be more likely to get clipped on one side than the other side. If a grid bias is too positive or too negative, it'll clip on the positive or the negative side, depending on how it's inverted. As the signal goes through the circuit, square waves are useful. You can get a quick idea of the frequency response of your stage or your device with a square wave. And it just so happens that the square wave that came out of my Android phone had this weird oscillation every time it went up or down, boink. And that's not audible. It's not likely to cause an issue with working on your equipment, but it will show you if there's a ringing oscillation in one of your circuits. But for frequency response, if you've got too much treble, you'll see it jump up here and it'll jump down here at each of the points. And if you've got a lack of low frequency, then it'll be curved. Instead of going straight up, it'll curve up and it'll curve down. So that's a good way to get a quick idea of what's going on with the frequency response in your radio, if you can.
I think that ringing you see is probably due to the Class D amplifier in the phone. What it's doing, it's settling down.
Yes. Yeah, it is. I was surprised to see that. I was trying to get good oscilloscope pictures for this talk this week, and I went.
I'm sorry, that's directly as it came out of the phone?
Yes.
That's surprising.
It surprised me too.
Solid state amplifiers usually,
Yeah, but it's a digital class D, which is different.
Yeah. Yeah, if I'd had more time, I would have, made little circuits with capacitors to suppress that to give a good signal for the talk.
Scott,
John.
I'm curious, did you try sending another square wave through the scope just to see what it looked like?
That was my only source of square waves. Okay.
I have a square wave generator I can lend you sometime.
Oh, thank you. Now, a sawtooth is useful to see if there's nonlinearity quickly, because it's in the sawtooth, it goes up really fast, and then it goes down, hopefully at a constant slope. And when there's nonlinearity, I can see this instead of a straight line, it can be sort of a curve going this way or that way. And that's a quick way to determine if you've got nonlinearity in your circuit. Okay, here's an AA5, and I'm going to go through the places where distortion can happen. Not so much, I think, in the RF or converter stage. Maybe I might be wrong with that, but somebody correct me if I am. The IF amp is subject to nonlinearity and can cause harmonic distortion in there. The detector is a diode there, and unfortunately, diodes are nonlinear too, and distortion can appear in that stage. First audio amp, and all of these capacitors that deal with audio, if they're off, can cause frequency response issues, including the resistors associated with them, because the capacitor is never by itself. It's always an RC network in one way or another, whether you can see it or not. And then the output stage, often you see a capacitor here as the cathode bypass capacitor. This circuit doesn't have one, but if you see one there, that can be a cause of issue in base response. This capacitor, you could have an issue with the transformer here. And then there's the automatic gain control, and that's a really interesting circuit in terms of fidelity. If this resistor is off for the automatic gain control, it can cause too much, or for example, too much gain. That can cause clipping. And then there's this capacitor here. And I actually had a problem with this capacitor where the value was too low, and the audio was actually leaking back and changing the gain in these stage. and it made a really interesting kind of distortion that took me a long time to figure out. What else we got here? And maybe somebody can help me with this. There's an extra coil there. I think this is, I figured out this was for humbucking. Anyone have the answer for that? We're going to talk about humbucking later. So you see this tap in the output transformer? I need somebody to help with that. I made an assumption about what that is for, but I haven't found any confirmation about it. Okay. Here's a circuit that uses negative feedback. This is the Fried Eisenman school radio that came out in the late 1940s. Negative feedback, it's typically used to suppress distortion and to improve frequency response. You see here, there's the output transformer, and its speaker is here, and it goes to the ground, and uh-oh, look at this. It's going back all the way to the first audio stage up through the cathode. What that's doing is it's giving, in a sense, it's informing the audio stage of what's happening at the very final stage of the speaker, and it's able to correct for any discrepancies and improve the fidelity. And this is the device that actually used that to improve the frequency response because they cheaped out on this capacitor. It's so.
That correction signal, is that out of phase with the input?
Yeah.
That's to the end?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's out of phase with the input.
Otherwise it break into oscillation.
Huh?
Otherwise it might break into oscillation.
Right, right. So it compensates for the distortion in these amplification stages, and it can also compensate for a loss of frequency response due to this capacitor being a low value. All right, now we're talking about your de-emphasis. 75 microseconds is the standard, and this is actually from, I believe, a document from the 1940s when it was established. And now this is in part the FM circuit here. This is the FM demodulator, discriminator, and the de-emphasis circuit is in here. And it's so well hidden, it took me a long time to find it. But it's right here. See 75 ohm there? Sorry, it's a little blurry. 75 ohm here. This is 0.001 microfarads there, 1 nanofarad. There it is. It's so well hidden, you can hardly find it. But if you got a problem with frequency response with the highs in a FM radio, see if you can find that. All right. And power supply. Yeah, there are power supply issues. This is a full wave. There's our pi filter, and I'm going to go deeper in that later. Push-pull stages have their own characteristic of harmonic distortion. The cause could be, what happens is you've got the audio out here, it goes to there, and then you turn the audio upside down and you put it down to here, and it goes back and forth, the current through the transformer, and pushes the speaker cone back and forth. One thing you have, these can be out of balance, so these tubes have to be kind of close in their specifications. If one is burning out or getting weak. And then you have a phase inverter, and this is a really strange circuit the way Zenith drew this, but this just takes some of the signal there, turns it upside down, and puts it into there, and hopefully the strength of the signals is the same except going backwards. And you can get imbalances in these resistors, these capacitors, and with the output transformer. And then you notice this little coil here? This, I believe, is a humbucker coil. And in the Oh, I got, yeah, one more thing to cover in the push-pull stage is when the two tubes are doing their job back and forth, they have to switch between them sometimes if it's a Class A/B amplifier. During the switching point, if the biases are a little bit off, you could get a discontinuity in the wave. The wave would go chicken like that. And the way to find that is to notice that if, in a very low volume, you'll hear more distortion. As you increase the volume in that stage, the distortion will sound like it's going away. And that would be a sign of the zero-cross distortion in a push-pull amplifier. All right, there can be masquerading. Sometimes noise can be riding on an audio signal, and it can sound to the ears like harmonic distortion. Oscillation can also sound like harmonic distortion. I had one radio, in fact, it's the radio on the table there. After I did the recap, I had the output and the input of the audio stages. The wires were too close to each other. And as the signal went up and down, when it went one of the ways, it would oscillate between those because the impedance of the circuit changes as the wave changes. So every once in a while, if you turned it up loud, it would make a sound just as if you were overlowering. It sounded just like it was clipping, but it was actually bursting into oscillation at one side of the wave. And that was a hard one to diagnose, but it's you can put a scope on that. You would probably see the oscillation. And there can be loose connections and shorts. I've had a radio where there was a loose connection that I didn't catch, and the vibration of the loudspeaker would vibrate the loose connection, and it sounded just like clipping. Okay, noise. Some radios can get 60 hertz hum. That can come from power supply filtering if it's a half-wave rectifier. You can have a filament short to the cathode. You can have the rectifier, half a full wave. Yeah, with a full wave rectifier, half of it can be weak or dead, and that'll give you 60 hertz hum. 120 hertz hum, usually it comes from power supply filtering. Problems. Then there's humbucking in field coil speakers. Field coil speakers, mostly before the war, had instead of a permanent magnet on the speaker, it had a coil, and it was usually the filtering inductor in the power supply. And as it filtered, it would try to remove a little bit of the 60 hertz and 120 hertz signal that it's trying to block, that left over from the capacitive filtering. And that'll interfere with the sound in the loudspeaker. So they have circuits there are many different types, and I can't cover them all today, of humbucking, where they have an extra coil that just sort of is in the opposite phase of that, and it eliminates the hum. Noise. There can be oscillation noise. I don't think I can go into much detail about that. And there's crackling from loose connections, intermittent short circuits, defective parts, silver mica disease, and a bad tube. Silver mica disease is when the capacitor is inside IF and RF cans start to short out or open. And it gives you a crackling sound. Humbucking. I love this subject. Here's the speaker from my Zenith console. This is the coil the field coil for the loudspeaker. And right here is another coil, and it's in series with the loudspeaker. And it doesn't even show it on the schematic diagram. I wish it represented it more clearly, because I was assuming that it didn't have any humbucking, but this is a speaker field coil in the Pi network for the power supply. And see, it's right next to this humbucking coil that's in series with the speaker. you know, you'd automatically think that this was the voice coil for the loudspeaker, but I believe it's supposed to be in the schematic. It's like a hidden humbucking coil, but there are many different ways of manufacturers have used for humbucking in field coil speakers, but you'll almost always see some kind of evidence of that. Speaker driver issues. Just harmonic distortion can come from a speaker problem. You can get cone damage like tears and so forth. Suspension is around here. This is the flexible part that lets the speaker cone move back and forth. You often find tears in the speaker, and there's some dispute about whether or not when you repair the tear, if it should be solid or if it should be flexible. I believe it ought to be solid because the flexibility is in the suspension around here like a spring. Then you get coil to magnet rubbing. This voice coil here moves up and down. It's attached mechanically to the speaker, but there's a this is part of the magnet, and there's a very critical distance, very small distance between the coil and the magnet to get the maximum efficiency. And one thing that can happen is you can get rubbing of the coil against the magnet. You can get foreign objects falling into that space and causing distortion. It can be misaligned from time, maybe if the suspension is starting to come loose. All right. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about this example. This is a pilot from 1941, and it had serious loudspeaker issues. I have another, the next slide you can see better what's going on with the speaker. This is, I like to get a picture when I have the first time after a recap I play music through it. I take a picture of the setup. This is my transmitter. This is my oscillation transformer. Here's the radio on the workbench right after recapping. And here's the field coil speaker. Close above the speaker. It had a lot of problems. Now, some speakers have kind of a dome here. It's kind of a dust cap. But this allows foreign objects to fall in there and scrape between the voice coil and the magnet. It had foam around here. The foam had completely rotted away. It had damage to the paper here. And it had these rubber grommets on these 4 mounting points here. It was a big deal taking care of that. It was impossible to memorize all the parts and all these mounts. So I documented them very carefully, got all the measurements on them. And this rubber grommet on some of them had completely rotted away. So I went to Home Depot to their faucet washer section, the little rubber washers on faucets. And I found enough of them of all the different sizes so that I could put them together and make new grommets for this. I just wanted to record where the transformer was to make sure I didn't turn the speaker the wrong way. And also there's foam between the baffle and the speaker, 1/4 inch thick, 3 inches wide. And I got replacement for that at the weather stripping section in Home Depot, and put that all together. And it sounded pretty good after that. Phase matching is important if you got more than one speaker or driver in your radio. Some of them, like the fancy ones, they'll either have a pair of speakers or they'll have a mid-range and a tweeter. If you got the phase backwards on one, you'll get problems with sound canceling out between the speakers. See, in this animated picture here, you see the 2 drivers are pushing and pulling together. If you got the phase backwards, they'll push and pull in the opposite directions, cancel out the sound, and give you some real problems. The standard is red and positive terminal pushes the speaker if plus volts applied, black or minus terminal will pull the speaker back if the positive voltage is applied or current. Phase is inaudible. The phase of a single speaker playing, the ears can't pick up a difference of phase. You got two or more, they better match in phase or they're going to sound wrong. Woofer tweeter arrangements, everything. For the one channel, all the speakers have to be in phase. Yeah, sometimes you can diagnose phase inconsistency with your ear. You can put your ear up to one, to the other. You can go back, put a bass sound through it because that, and try it in phase and out of phase. You'll get differences in volume. The stronger the bass is, the more likely you are in phase. It can be pretty hard between a woofer and a tweeter, though. And what I've used for that is I put a woofer and tweeter up and played a sound at the crossover point where both of the speakers are going to be overlapping and produce the sound at the same time. And I move the sound pressure level from one speaker to another. And if the level goes down halfway between the speakers, they're out of phase. If it doesn't go down between the speakers, they're in phase. It's something that's almost impossible for the ears to pick up. All right, there are ethical issues with making radios sound better than they originally were from the factory. It can be done. I have my Zenith console. I hate the tone control on that. I want to just go in there, put an equalizer in there, and flatten it all out. But I don't think I should. I want to know what it sounds like originally. It's got really boomy bass. But I think that's the way it sounded when it was new. Okay. And, you know, the ethical questions, if you own it, you can do whatever you want with it, right? But an antique radio is a part of the collective history of society. Keep it original. Should it sound better? I actually like radios that sound the way they sounded when they were new. If I can get close to that somehow. And then that's analogous to some people who take radio cabinets and they refinish it so that it looks better than it was new. And that's kind of cool, but then again, you're erasing history, and I understand the arguments go either way. What's next? Yeah, I want to talk about the RCA Golden Throat. It wasn't just a marketing thing, but in my research, it means that all the components in the radio are tuned to each other, including to the resonances in the cabinet and so on and so forth, which is an interesting problem for somebody trying to diagnose it because you may not find, say a flat response at the electronic level. But it's designed so that once it gets to the loudspeaker, once it gets to the cabinet, it'll flatten out. And that's the way it's actually designed. That's what I have to say. May all your radios have golden throats. Thank you. All right, questions or corrections?
Not a correction, just a question. I think the Golden Throat, the RCA, the period when they advertised that, I think that Olson had a hand in all that.
I'm sure he did, yeah.
He was like the master of their...
Yeah, Harry Olson.
Yeah, amazing. Everything he put his hands on, he made sound better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Yeah.
I understand the concept of phasing with multiple speakers. How can it be applied when you're only having one speaker? Why would anyone say phasing a single speaker? It doesn't sound...
Yeah, phasing with a single speaker, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I've heard it though. I've heard people say it, and
I think
totally baffled.
I think they're wrong.
Yeah, I agree. The other question is, how do you deal with the listener and their subjective interpretation of how they think the radio or the music should sound versus a more scientific approach? In other words, there's some people who like, for instance, a Bose sound system. Other people say it's distorted, but it's distorted the way people like to hear it.
Yeah. I don't really argue with that. All I say is that that's not about high fidelity. If you're talking about high fidelity, you want accurate sound, transparent equipment. If you want to exaggerate it or change it so that you like it, then we're not talking about hi-fi anymore. One of the things that me and my friends really liked, mostly when I was a kid, was to put the equalizer in a smile. and that's a psychological thing. It's called supernormal stimulus. And that's partly a compensation for radios and audio equipment that's lacking in bass and treble. Once you hear exaggerated bass and treble, it's like, wow, it's like a sugar high. But it has nothing to do with hi-fi, and the hi-fi is what my talk is mostly about, not tweaking it so that I like the way it sounds.
You talk about the equalizer being in a smile, or
Yeah.
the curve being in a smile. You're basically talking about what they did in most every, and still do in almost every nightclub, that everything's screaming treble, booming bass, and nothing in between. Yeah, that every car, that's, yeah.
Sizzle, yeah. It's like a sugar high. Okay.
I saw, it used to be, it was a Hi-Fi magazine. One of them used to have the cartoon in the magazine. They published a book about it, of a compendium of these things. And one of them was it had the age, the little kid, right? And it had the equalizer, and as he got older, he was rolling the treble up higher because your high frequency falls off the older you get. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Anything else? So many. I'll start on the right. Yeah, Fred.
Yeah, what's the difference between AGC and AVC, and how do they make it so it doesn't cut the signal that it's dealing with? In other words, when you get a signal to the speaker, what keeps it from cutting it off entirely?
I'm not sure. I'm not ready to address that right now. Sorry.
I think I've AGC in a radio is they can use the carrier strength to adjust the gain. So if the carrier intensity is weak, you compensate by jacking up the gain of the receiver. So if you're tuning to a close by station or a far away station, the audio volume is relatively the same. That's basically what it is.
Yeah. Well, I think that automatic gain control, automatic volume control, automatic level control, they're all the same thing.
ALC is term for transmitter. AVC and AGC were marketing terms.
Oh, okay. So they're more typically used in different areas, but they're pretty much synonymous.
ALC is a transmitter term.
Yeah, automatic level
Okay.
control is, I had an encounter in St. Louis when I was living there. I used to listen to, when I was in grad school in St. Louis, I used to listen to WBZ Boston. And it was one of my few connections with civilization. And it was at, I think they were at 10:10.
10:30.
Yeah. WBZ Radio 103, they were 10:30. At 10:10, just 20 kilohertz below it, was a local radio station, a local St. Louis area religious station, where the preacher used to scream into the microphone. And I would be listening to WBZ and I'd hear, I couldn't figure out what the hell it was until I tuned the radio down a little bit, and I saw exactly where it was coming from. They were overmodulating the transmitter and blasting into adjacent channels. So I got on the phone, I called the station, and after talking to several people who could not construct a coherent sentence in the English language, I found I did get through to the engineer. And he said, permit me to instruct you. And he gave me a long talk about how transistors are subject to overload and all of that because they have a narrow dynamic range. And after he went on and on and on, I answered with one word, pentode.
Yes.
Whoa! I said, now, we got automatic level control. Well, it ain't controlling enough.
All I worship and adore. In other words, please be true.
Yeah. I know. Well, it sounded good when I was at home, so I knew it wouldn't sound good when I got here. Just by Murphy's Law, yeah.
Or your power supply for your laptop and everything else.
Could be anything, yeah.
Probably a lot of noise around that.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Yes.
Do you find that the, could you make a statement that almost all capacitors will eventually go, especially the electrolytics, or have you found any that hang in there for 10, 15, 20, 50 years?
Well, the bad ones are the paper capacitors and the electrolytic capacitors. The rest of them, you don't see too much problem with that. I have trouble with tantalum capacitors sometimes, but they're not really with old radios so much.
Ceramics tend to last.
Which ones?
The old ceramics.
The ceramics reliable?
Mica.
Yeah, mica reliable unless it's got silver mica disease. Yeah. Okay.
But, you know, talking before about the accident with the Radiola 18, how many times you get the power supply, you know, what did they use for capacitors back then? It was, for the power supply, it was still paper. And
Mhm.
some of them are still good after all these years.
They're
almost every
impregnated
year.
in tar is why.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think some of the paper has acid in it, and that degrades over the years.
Some of it may depend on the environment. You get all the humidity, it permeates through the wax and gets into the paper and makes it unhappy.
Yeah, you know, most old stuff is only designed to last for 10 years.
Well, the other thing, I was reading an article, a lot of those capacitors, the paper, when they wound them, they didn't control the acidity in the paper, and that was, there was all kinds of things that go on.
Right.
Sulfur and the power supply, when they wound, a lot of Philcos had problems with that.
Mhm.
30, 31.
How are we doing with time?
We're out of time.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Scott. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you, Scott. Really appreciate it. I always like to mine our own membership for what they know, what they can do, and what they've done in the past. So, I'd like to mention that our next meeting is at InfoAge. We're back at InfoAge, and that will be September 13th, Friday, September 13th. Now, I would like to invite you to an auction outside that JD Auction Services will be auctioning off. At least the D of JD Auction Services will be auctioning off for your entertainment. All right, so let's proceed out. And I appreciate everything you've done, and anything you might have brought in, please bring it out with you, please.